All right. So let's look at, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but MicroStrategy had a pretty good week. Holy, we're at 69,000 already. What am I missing here? Oh, mine doesn't say that unless I'm lagging behind. 67 though, 67, 761 on my end. Anyways, we've been talking about this for a while now on the show. If you're a viewer of the Daily Bitcoin Journey, this is something that we've been talking about here for quite a while now. And that's why I said, actually, hold on. So once again, before we continue this conversation, I think it's very important to understand a couple things here about Bitcoin, about MicroStrategy, and where this whole thing's going. So number one, and most importantly, the best asset that you can own is Bitcoin in self-custody. Okay. So anytime you have any cash, anytime you have some free cash that you're looking to invest into something or buy something, that's when you put that in Bitcoin, self-custody. That's the best. There is no second best in terms of that. But for the money that you do have in retirement fund, pension, savings account, the money that's still trapped in that system, if you were to take that money out, you'd probably pay fees on it. You'd probably get taxed on it. And then you'd have to buy Bitcoin. So with the money that you have in that system, that's where you put it into MicroStrategy. So I've been kind of following Twitter a little bit more than I should be last week, just to check on MicroStrategy and hear different people's opinions on it. But it seems like there's a huge divide of people, and they don't really understand that. I think people just only see the world through their eyes, and they don't understand that there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of capital still in the system. And so they're bashing MicroStrategy like it's such a bad thing that people are buying this instead of Bitcoin. But the reality is that your average person out there, they're not just going to hear about Bitcoin. They're not just going to see the price of Bitcoin going up, decide to sell a bunch of their investments that they've had for years in there, figure out how to buy Bitcoin, buy some Bitcoin, learn how to protect it. It's just not something that happens fast. And that's why, Bitcoiners really like to overthink things, for sure. And people are like, well, why is MicroStrategy running up so much higher than Bitcoin? Very, very, very simple. Convenience. That's it. Because if you think about the person I just talked about there, the person who doesn't have a clue about Bitcoin yet, they just see the price running up, they want to be part of it. They're not going to sell a bunch of their investments, cash it out, pay tax on it, pay fees on it, buy it, and learn how to self-custody. It just doesn't happen like that. It's a very long process. And so with MicroStrategy, it's very convenient. You can just sell some of your old shares, buy MicroStrategy, have direct exposure to Bitcoin, and not have to do anything. It's a very lazy way to do it, but it's convenient for people. And that's why it's going up faster than Bitcoin, is because there's a lot more demand. There's a lot more people who are in that camp than people like us today. That'll change. And, between the Bitcoin ETFs, between MicroStrategy, that's kind of just going to be a convenient starting point for a lot of people. Once they stay in Bitcoin for a while, once they watch a few daily Bitcoin journey shows, their conviction is going to go up. And so eventually over time, they'll start cashing out their retirement, their MicroStrategy shares, buying Bitcoin and holding it. But it's kind of like a very convenient gateway into Bitcoin. And that's what MicroStrategy is. So that's the first part. That's why it's running up faster than the price of Bitcoin is, because it's very convenient for people. But then if you understand what is going on here. So this says, Sailor, the end game is to be the leading Bitcoin bank. Bitcoin is going to go to millions of coins, and then we create $1 trillion company. He announced that on Friday, I think it was, which is something we've been talking about for quite a while on the show, is the fact that, yes, they're a software company today. They're profitable. They're buying Bitcoin with their profits, but they're not going to be a software company forever. He just said the end game is to be the leading Bitcoin bank. And just think about yourself. If you had 1% of the Bitcoin supply, would you just continue being a software company and holding on to that Bitcoin? Or would you use that Bitcoin to take over the world? Would you leave it sitting idle and just in cold storage, or would you actually put it to work and start investing in different ventures, businesses, companies who can earn you more cash flow, which you can buy more Bitcoin with and increase the SaaS per share? Like, this really isn't rocket science. It's very, very smart, but it's not rocket science what's happening here. So yes, MicroStrategy will be a bank. He wants to be the leading Bitcoin bank. And when you have 1% of the Bitcoin, you can probably make that happen. Because even with this, you have to keep in mind that you compare Saylor, MicroStrategy, they're holding their Bitcoin, 1% of it. They're buying more this week too. And then you compare that to BlackRock, and everybody's worried about BlackRock. But like, BlackRock doesn't actually own that Bitcoin. Their clients own that Bitcoin. Whereas MicroStrategy here, they own this Bitcoin. They're going to have so much future leverage with this Bitcoin. So I think they're going to be a bank, which I've talked about. I think they're going to be an insurance company, which I talked about. I think they're going to be a real estate company, which I've talked about. They'll probably buy Ian's brother's car dealership in Dubai one day. They're not going to sell the Bitcoin, but they're going to use it as leverage to go to the bank, get as collateral, and start investing in businesses and industries that have positive cash flow, and they're going to keep buying Bitcoin with that. It's like, okay, here's the other one here. This is look at this graphic. And then if there's anybody in the chat here who can explain to me how this is possibly going to change at this point. So you can see here, it says no S&P company has outperformed MicroStrategy since they began stacking Bitcoin. So you got MicroStrategy is up 1,620%. Bitcoin's up 426%. The Magnificent Seven is up 243%, which I think NVIDIA has a big part of that. And then you got the S&P 73%. So if somebody could explain to me how this is going to possibly change, how this is going to shift to go from MicroStrategy into the Magnificent Seven, like what MicroStrategy is going to do here, if they keep going down this road, is they're going to be able to buy the Magnificent Seven. This does not go backwards now. This does not go backwards, unless, of course, they lose the Bitcoin, which is a risk that everybody should be aware of, because that's the main trade-off there. If you're buying MicroStrategy instead of Bitcoin, the main risk there is that the third party, counterparty risk, somebody else is holding your Bitcoin for you. So if you're willing to stomach that, again, you got cash, you're buying Bitcoin, you're putting in that self-custody. It's yours. You own that. If you have money in the old system, you're buying MicroStrategy. And I foresee a day here in the really not so distant future. And the other part of MicroStrategy too is that you actually can't self-custody those shares. Like the brokerage that I use, yes, I trade cash, I buy stocks, and it sits there. It's a balance. But I can't actually withdraw that from the exchange and put it into my own wallet like I can with Bitcoin. So that's one of the current downsides of it. But I foresee a day in the very near future where you have a wallet, a Lightning wallet, and you have your stablecoin, whatever country you're in. Let's say I'm in Canada, Canadian stablecoin, which is going to be worth not a whole lot if it's around even. So let's say US stablecoin. I got the US stablecoin in there. I got Lightning, I got Bitcoin, and I got MicroStrategy share. Okay. So that's when assets are going to be tokenized. And when that happens, you're actually going to be able to self-custody your MicroStrategy shares. Again, not so distant future. Larry Fink has talked about this for a lot of years. People have predicted this for a lot of years. It's coming. They're already able to do it, I think, right now. So then you have your stablecoin and you have your Lightning. Those are kind of like your checking account within your phone. And then you have your Bitcoin, which is like your savings account. And then you have your MicroStrategy, kind of like a hybrid of both. And you'll be able to sell that. You'll be able to swap your MicroStrategy shares into cash or a stable coin into Bitcoin or whatever you want to buy with it. And then you're going to have obviously the majority of your Bitcoin. For us, for the people who are here now, you're going to have your Bitcoin held on a cold card ledger. No, not a ledger. Anything but a ledger. Cold card, Passport, Jade. That's like your safe. So you get your safe, your savings account, your checking account. Those are on your phone, and your main stack's off your phone. Bookmark this video.